Hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is January 12th, Friday, when I'm recording this. Hope you guys enjoyed the long 3-day weekend for Martin Luther King Day. So yeah, make sure you guys don't come here on Monday, otherwise you're going to be a big party of one. All right, so I wanted to draw your attention over to my Twitter page over at Profit Pilot, and this last post, I wanted to show you guys that on Wednesday, the 10th, these are some of the alerts that I send out to the Moxie traders. So this was 12:37 p.m. Market closes at 1 p.m. for me, so right before the close. I also made a similar post at first thing that morning, basically saying I'd really love the S&P to see the SPY pull back from here, and that'll help us kind of get some setups and see where things go from there. We can check out some of these names as well, and so here is what we were looking at. You can see that I made the post on 110, which was that day, and I really just needed to see the market pull back because I wanted to see if it was going to come back and test the hourly 50, and sure enough, it did. Now, maybe it was because of Bitcoin news that kind of helped grease the wheels to the downside. Maybe it was the CPI, like whatever the reason is, but that's what I was looking for, is because the market double topped and I was looking for it to come back down here to support, and sure enough, it did. So big turnaround day right there. And then today we had PPI, and the market just kind of didn't do too much. So let's take you to the SPY right now, and then I'll get into the breadth indicators to show you that in a second. And so the issue that I have right now about thinking that the market's going to just keep going up right from here is that we do have price over the 50 and the Moxie indicator is below 0. So this is what I call an inverse trampoline setup, meaning that price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. Now, that doesn't mean short it necessarily. It might, given the right circumstance and situation, or it just means don't go long right now. So I'm having a hard time thinking that the market's going to keep following the hourly 50 right here and keep going up. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but it just means we need to see some sort of setup. Oftentimes, we don't see something like this where price goes up, price goes down, the Moxie indicator goes down, Moxie indicator up. A lot of times we see divergence. And just off the top of my head, what some of that divergence might mean is if the SPY were to come down and let's say do a double bottom, that would mean that maybe the Moxie indicator goes like that. Maybe I can draw that with green so that it looks a little bit, like that. And so then what you get is there's your divergence. So double bottom and there's your divergence, and that would set us up for the next move to the upside. So I could see something like that. We'll have to wait and check it out. Another one, if we went to SOXX, I found this earlier when I was on the mic, and it gave us a decent example. So you can see right in through here, let's kind of zoom in just a little bit, see the same thing? See how price is over the hourly 50 and see how the Moxie indicator is below 0? And what did it do eventually? Well, there's your double bottom, and there's your positive divergence, and then this thing started to move up. Now, granted, this whole thing was kind of in a choppy area, but that's the point. And so if we actually look where that was, you can see here on the daily chart, very similar to what we're experiencing right now with the S&P, isn't it? The S&P had a big move, very far away from its daily 50, and you can see that it pulled back into the 21 and then basically came up to a double top. So that's why I just wouldn't be surprised if we got another dip like that. And maybe that'll set something up, So yeah, I'm kind of looking for another opportunity. That being said, let's take a look over here and see if this moves any, if it updates. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this is the breadth reading. And the important thing that I like to look at right now is the 20-day. So the number of stocks over their 20-day SMA, it was absolutely pegged at 90. So 90% of stocks were over their 50-day SMA. Maybe it was 91, 92%, but basically as many stocks as possible were over their 20-day SMAs. And they could stay up there for a while because that's a pretty good trend. But at some point, this needs to come back down because not everything can just stay up like this. And you can see that it cycles, doesn't it? And so here we are starting to have this come down, meaning more stocks are pulling back, which is good because this is what we need. We need the market to cycle back down before we can go back up. And you can even see here the number of stocks over the 50-day SMA has been also pegged at 90. It just doesn't get much higher than that. Now, maybe it can kind of oscillate up here for a bit, but it's hard to keep going when everything is still up there. So I'm going to show you guys some names that are helping ease this indicator. And we just need to see these things come down to build room before we can start making moves to the upside. So on that, here we're looking at the NASDAQ. Looks very similar to the S&P. I guess I need to slide that all the way over. There you go. So looks very similar to the S&P. You can see, inverse trampling move. And then if we look at the IWM, this is the other thing that's kind of telling me. Now, I don't think that the IWM is going to lead or whatever. I mean, clearly you can see that the S&P is up when the IWM is down here, but it is telling me to just be a little bit cautious because you can see that price is still getting rejected by the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 and the Moxie indicator is below 0. So this could keep going down, but it could also chop around a little bit. So we just don't have a complete answer here. Clearly, this is not done. Not done with the pullback. I don't want to say it's not done going down because it could go sideways, but it's not done pulling back, and so it's not at an uptrend yet. And that's why I'm saying I think also with the NASDAQ and the S&P, even though they're up and they're at their previous high, like a double top, I don't think they're quite ready to go yet either. So that's kind of my read on everything. Now, since all of this news about Bitcoin and stuff has come out, it did turn out to be a buy the rumor, sell the news type play. I do think that longer term, I think that these things are going to do well, and we just have to wait. But the one thing I want to show you, again, with this inverse trampling situation, look here. You have price over the hourly 50. Notice that the Moxie indicator is below 0. Now, this was pretty stark, and it was because you could see here that the hourly 50 was still pointed down. Now, maybe if this had started working, we would have actually seen price be able to stay over the hourly 50, and then it could start building some strength from there. But nope, the news with the whole Bitcoin thing, and they're just selling into it, fresh meat. So they sold into it pretty hard. And big picture, though, I do think that these names, if we look at Riot, I think it's going to be hard for these things to just totally roll over and die. I think that too much is happening. I think that there's going to be a lot of adoption, and there's a reason why there's all these ETFs coming out. But I like this. I mean, it is still generally in an uptrend. Okay, we just have to understand that maybe now it's in a little bit of a pennant like that. So big move up, big move down. Lots of news on this. Sell the news type situation. They are still technically in an uptrend. This is just a really big pullback for now, and that's what I'm looking for, and we need to figure out when it wants to go back up again. So some of the other things we could look at, Airbnb, just as an example. If we look at this as the higher time frames, I do think that this market is still strong. I do think it's still bullish, and I definitely want to be in. But we had a really, really big move in November, December when most everything participated. I mean, again, you look at the breadth indicators, like 90%. There's just no more room for these things to go up. And now what are they doing? Well, they pulled back. And at least on a weekly time frame, that pullback looks pretty darn constructive. So now it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, when are these things going to start moving to the upside? Now, something like Airbnb. For a while, I guess now it's actually below the 20 SMA. So it is helping bring down that breadth indicator I was showing you guys. But it's still above the daily 50. So it's not helping that one. Now, I don't know if maybe Airbnb is going to stay above or below, but that's why I'm saying that a lot of these names had a really, really big distance to go before they even got to their 50s, assuming they went down. They could even go sideways and wait for their 50s to come up to them. So at this point, Airbnb still looks pretty good. I just think it's hanging out, trying to figure out its support situation until price starts to move up and the next cycle goes. But that's why I'm looking at these names and saying, I like what's happening here. We just need to be patient, and maybe there's a bit of a channel in through here, and we're kind of coming up on that lower end of the channel. The other thing I've been talking about, inverse trampling moves. Here's another one. Here's price over the hourly 50. Notice the Moxie indicator is below 0. So what that tells me is this is not the next ready to go move, and the Moxie indicator is what's helping tell you that. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. Now, of course, not always perfect, but in situations like this, it's really kind of telling you something. So there's Airbnb, Redfin, kind of another one. And I'm just showing you guys general examples of what I'm seeing out there, that I do think there's strength out there, and just in varying degrees. But this was the called the fall pullback. August, September, October, we got that pullback, and now we had the move up in November, December. And whether or not they really took off a particular name really took off, there was a lot of moves right there. And everything got overbought, and now they're pulling back into potential support. And if this pullback eventually finds support and the market legs up again, I think these things are going to have really, really nice moves. And if you look at this on the daily and hourly chart, also look what Redfin's doing. It's coming back to the daily 50. So start paying attention. A lot of names are coming back to their daily 50s, and you can see daily 50, daily 50, daily 50, 50. You know, other than that little dip right there, this thing followed the 50 to the way up. And that's why I'm saying, what is it doing? It's coming to the 50. So we just have to be patient. And look at this, another inverse trampoline move. Price over the 50, the Moxie indicator below 0. That tells you don't go long right there. Roku, they've kind of been talking about this. If you look at Roku on the higher time frames, same thing. I think these things are going to get going. Here was the August, September, October pullback. Pullback right into the weekly 50. Huge move up, new highs for November, December, and everything got overbought. So what is it doing? It's pulling back. Now we just have to wait and see where this pullback is going to go and what it looks like. And so Roku is now helping those indicators. It's below the 20, it's below the 50. It's helping cool off that indicator so that we can actually go up again. Because when things are this high, we just can't keep going high anymore. We have to pull back in order to set up again. So really what we're doing is, here's the run, here's the pullback. Here's the run, here's the pullback, here's the run, here's the pullback, and we're just waiting for the next run. So we have to see about that. And on the hourly chart, we're getting heads up. The Moxie indicator is moving up while price is moving down. It does a really good job at timing, so it's saying it's not quite ready yet. Still got some room to go, but it helps you say, don't go long, don't go long, don't go long, okay? Because all of those were inverse trampoline moves. Price was over the 50, the Moxie indicator was below 0. You could even see that the hourly 50 was in a downtrend. It's not ready yet. And yeah, I think that pretty much brings me to everything we're looking at. I'll just show you one more that I just kind of thought of, Joby. Since this market has had some really big spurts, I mean, honestly, it's been feast or famine. This market is either like all on or it's all off. And Joby is one of those flying, air taxi type things. Very speculative, very risky as far as the stock goes. Needs a lot of capital, so benefits from lower interest rates. Well, what I like here is that it has now pulled back into an uptrending weekly 50. And yes, there was a bit of a move in through here. Clearly this was something, so I don't know what that necessarily was about. But if we look at these things, if this market is going to say, okay, risk on again, which it was in November, December, risk was definitely on. But then we had to pull back because look, everything was too frothy, and now we're getting a pullback. So now we just need to watch. This is a pullback into an uptrending daily 50. And whenever the market is ready to go again, we should see this thing start to move up again. And how will we know that? Well, you'll start to see moving averages move to the upside, and you'll start to see the Moxie indicator above 0. Do we have either of that right now? No. So we just have to be patient. It is still getting guided down by the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator is still very far below 0. And so the next thing we should see whenever this is ready to go is we start to see price over the 50, and the Moxie indicator is either climbing or almost at 0 to go positive. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for tuning in. Hope you have a good Friday. Enjoy your 3-day weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Take care.